Good evening. I'm so glad you're watching us here tonight on PBS Fort Wayne. The name of our show is Life Ahead. I'm the hostess, Sandy Thomson, but the real stars are my two guests that you're going to meet in just a moment. Our main topic tonight is going to be aging in place. And we have an attorney here this evening, one that you're very familiar with, that can help with any legal questions in that arena of aging in place. And we have an expert in home health care that can answer any of our calls for that. And calls, that's what we want from you, by the way. This is really your show. I'll ask him some questions, but I'd love for you to call in with anything you'd like to know. 969-2720. And if you will talk to us live on the air, that's the best. That way, if they have questions back to you, you're still right there on the phone. But if you're not comfortable doing that, that's okay. Our phone operator will take your question and type it up and send it out here to us on the teleprompter. Rules, we don't have any, except that we don't have any commercials. We go straight through for this half hour. Again, aging in place, and don't forget to give us a call. Heidi Adair is our attorney that's with us here this evening. Heidi, welcome.
Hi, thank you.
What a pretty color. I just now noticed your sweater there. That looks great.
Thanks.
Heidi, you've met many times with us here. We were talking before the show how many times she's been here, and we figured about 4 times a year for about 20 years.
I think so.
You go way back. Yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you'll be here for 20 more, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Kevin Neebes. Kevin, welcome to Life Ahead here and to PBS. And Kevin is an expert in home health care, so I'm anticipating some phone calls about that. People always seem to have questions, and that's a business that I think's probably changed a lot in the last 10, 15 years.
Yeah, it has. It has. The population changes have forced a lot of changes on the industry.
We were talking about some of those changes before the show, Heidi, and you were talking about baby boomers and how the need for elder law attorneys, the need for home health care, those type of things has really increased. Can you speak to that?
Yeah. So I saw this slide. I didn't make it up, but it has had a huge impact on me. People have been turning 65 at a rate like this. And in 2023, the graph went like this, and it continues to go up like this for another 15 years.
Really?
So the baby boomers that we've all been talking about is who are going to be aging.
Yeah.
It's here. Like, they are aging, and what we've kind of been talking about and kind of preparing for 10 or 15 years is
so
it's
you're
here.
Kind of busy now.
Yes, it is very busy.
Well, what does health have to do with that? Heidi or Kevin, both of you, start with you, Kevin, because there's been so much more medical research, technology, people are living longer than they used to. So those baby boomers you thought were going to be gone in 5 or 10 years probably won't be. Kevin, does this impact home health care?
Yeah, there's a lot of, like you said earlier, changes that are going on in the industry, and that's certainly one of them. We're seeing people live longer, and people who are aging want to live healthy, productive, meaningful lives on into their 80s and 90s and even into their hundreds. And so healthcare is changing, and
So is it true, and I think we have spoken some about this before, Heidi, that in general, and you meet with people all the time that are beginning to do their estate planning or prepare their documents and whatever, would you say it's true that they want to stay home more than to go to retirement homes or whatever?
Yeah, I mean, everybody kind of has their own spin on it, but the generation before us, a lot of them didn't make it to, they just got sick and died. And so what I'm talking to people about is you got to have a plan, because you're likely going to live a long time, and the way that you live today is probably not going to work for you as you age. And you want to be in charge of your aging. You want your aging to look the way you want it to look.
You want to make the decisions.
You want to decide. And with all these people aging at the same time and limited resources, you're just going to be better off if you have planned ahead and know what you want.
Yeah.
Well, we've talked about that with a number of different careers or businesses. Builders have said, think now if you're going to be building something new, or while you're still healthy enough, if you need to downsize and move somewhere else, think about those things, whether it is like how wide the doors are in case you need wheelchairs, are there ramps available or easily put in, things like that that make it possible for you to live at home a little bit longer. Do these things get impacted by home health care workers, Kevin? I mean, do you require certain things of clients if you're going to send somebody out to take care of them?
Yeah, well, just to kind of tack on to what you were saying in terms of planning, planning is so important, and a lot of times we end up talking to families who are already in crisis mode. Something has happened, so a fall has happened, or a hospital visit, or a diagnosis, or something like that has happened. And now the family is scrambling to try to figure out, okay, how does mom or dad want to live out their days, and what can be done? How do we kind of honor their wishes in that? And so one of the messages I would love to share is just communicating as a family beforehand, before that crisis, so that everyone kind of knows this is what we want, this is how we want. And so the decision can be with, in our case, it's a client, but it can be with that aging adult.
One of the things that we've talked about before here on Life Ahead in terms of preparing for that is to try to make sure that, again, like Kevin said, that you communicate. And sometimes people aren't always comfortable doing that, are they, Heidi?
No.
Do you think it's because it means you have to face mortality if you're starting to tell your kids, okay, here's what I want? Yeah,
maybe. And I think, too, the older generation today did not see aging modeled. They're the first people navigating this. So they kind of just are looking at what they watched their parents do, which isn't going to work very well now because you're going to live longer than your parents lived. And so they haven't had somebody to kind of model it for them.
And in past generations, I think, too, I don't know if it's a big deal now, but in past generations, more people were home. I mean, there were fewer both people, like the son or daughter or whatever, they and their spouse working. So there were usually family members that could stay at home and take care of grandpa or grandma or whatever. And now everybody seems to be so busy and everybody's working, so there's not always somebody in the family available. Kevin, you said oftentimes it's an emergency when people call you up and say, hey, I need something, some home health
fast,
care. Is it like an accident? Is it like post-surgery? What's the usual case?
Yeah, a lot of falls. Sometimes it's a fall that kind of creates that crisis where the family then needs to get some more help in the home. It could be a diagnosis. So if you're diagnosed with cancer and you're looking at a treatment that might also, the healing process also takes a lot out of you. And so you might need a little bit more help at home than you've needed before. And I think one of the keys to this generation, and probably a lot of generations, is they want independence. They want that independence. And home care is one of those things that some people are a little resistant to. It's like, oh, this is going to take my independence away. But really, I see it as a different side of it where it really brings that independence. So the aging adult can live their life how they want to live their life. And if they need a little bit of help with dressing, or if they need a little bit of help with running a vacuum or doing some laundry, then they've got that help, but they also can do what they want to do.
So now, how does it work? How do you decide what level of care somebody needs? From what I have heard, you can hire somebody to come in a couple of hours a day to make sure you're taking your medicine correctly. And like Kevin mentioned, maybe to do some household tasks, to vacuum or do the dishes or whatever, or maybe take you to the grocery or drugstore, doctor's appointments, things like that. Or you can go all the way up to 24 hours a day if you need. That'd
Yeah.
get a little costly though, wouldn't it?
Yep. Yep.
But maybe that's a preference for some people rather than being in a center of some sort.
Yeah.
How long does it take when someone calls you before you can get them situated?
Yeah. Well, it varies.
Okay.
But today was a great example. We had 2 calls this afternoon. We went out and met with the client and did an assessment. So that's typically what would happen is somebody
what you
would
do?
do an assessment.
Or you go to their home
We go
and
to
meet
their
the
homes,
client
meet
and
their
see
client,
their house.
Yep, see what they need, and then develop a care plan based on that.
Yeah.
And one we started at 5 o'clock tonight, and the other we're starting at 7 in the morning.
Wow.
So it was pretty quick turnaround.
Wow.
Doesn't always happen that way, but sometimes we scramble and we make it happen for them. So.
What kind of training do the home health care workers get? And well, I'll make this a double question here. Heidi mentioned, with the baby boomer increase and whatever, obviously that's impacting your business. So you have a lot more requests for home health care than you would have 10 years ago or 5 years ago. Can you keep enough staffing? Are there enough people available? And how do you train them?
Yeah. Well, staffing is a big challenge.
Yeah.
But we work really hard to find the best caregivers in Fort Wayne. The training that we do is all in-house. So there's really it's a non-medical situation. So all of our training is on personal care and how to, do the things that someone would need to do to help someone if maybe there's an incontinence issue or maybe they need a little help to be safe in the shower, those kinds of things. But we do the training in-house and we get them ready and then we support them as they're doing it.
Do they have to have any sort of licensing or training prior to starting to work on a staff?
Yeah. No, we look. We look for a lot of heart. I mean, we look for people that are caregivers by nature. They've probably done some caregiving in their past, whether it's their family or a friend or a grandmother. If they've got that caregiver heart, then we'll teach them the skills that they need to be able to handle those situations.
I like that answer. That's great because it really is that. I mean, if I had, a family member that needed home health care, I'd want somebody that really cared about them and that I trusted.
And there's different. Some people just need home care, not health care. There's also health care. So, I don't know, can you help with medicines or no?
We can do medication reminders, but there's kind of a line that we can't do some of the, we can't do the medical things.
Okay, but there are companies that do that.
Yep.
So sometimes you need to employ both types of people.
That's a good point. Yeah, I mean, there may be a need to have a nurse stop in every day if you need an insulin shot or certain medications. They know how to make sure you get those or to give you the shots or whatever, but obviously they would be medically trained and licensed.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, that's good. Okay, let's go back and talk about legalities.
Okay.
All right, does anyone need any kind of legal documents to start requesting or hiring home health care?
If you are well enough to hire them yourself, you can. But this is where it's important that if you weren't well enough to navigate all of that, you want to have a power of attorney, a financial power of attorney and a healthcare power of attorney.
Is this something that the healthcare representative would take care of then, or both of them?
The healthcare representative kind of would manage making sure the healthcare was being done, but the financial power of attorney would have to write the checks for it and pay for it. So you kind of need both of them working on it.
Okay, you said pay for it. So we can look at options, maybe Medicaid or private pay. How does that work, Kevin?
Yeah. In our case, there's several options for paying for services that we offer. One would just be the private funds that the family would have. The next would be there's a class of insurance called long-term care insurance policies, and so if someone has those, then they'll often have coverage for home care services. The VA is also a wonderful source of services if you qualify for that. And then the Medicaid waiver program would be the final of the 4 big buckets that funding comes from.
All right, Medicaid waiver. I understand there's a bit of a waiting period on that right now, right?
Yeah. So this is quite an interesting time in the Medicaid waiver world.
She says with a smile as her workload has increased.
Yeah. So in March of 23, the state realized there was a $1 billion budget shortfall in the Medicaid program. So
just the state of Indiana?
Just the state of Indiana.
Okay.
So in April, as a response to that, in order to use Medicaid waiver, the state has to give you a slot. So on April 4th, with no warning, they said no more slots until July.
Like appointments to get you enrolled? Is
no
that what
more.
You mean?
You just have to be issued they have to give me a slot, and then I can apply for Medicaid. So I can't apply for Medicaid until I have a slot.
Okay.
So the state said, we're not going to give out any more slots.
Is that like your placement of eligibility then?
Kind of, yeah.
Kind of? Okay.
So in our area, Aging and In-Home Services comes and assesses you and says, yep, you're sick enough, we're going to have the state give you a slot. And then you can apply for Medicaid.
So local Aging and In-Home Services here in Fort Wayne?
Yes, yes.
So that might be a place you might call to
explore more, get more information.
Find out more and ask them if they can do the assessment and that sort of thing. Do you require anything like that, Kevin, for home health services?
The waiver program? Yeah, so we would need for this client to have been approved for the waiver.
Okay.
They've got to make it through this wait list, which can be pretty long these days because of the changes that have been going on with the program. But once they get through that wait list and they're released from that, they'll be authorized to either receive home care services or any of the other services that they might be eligible for.
Does Medicare help at all, Heidi? Do you know?
They can help maybe for brief periods. Does Medicare ever do any sort of rehab coverage?
Unfortunately, no. I mean, they really do stick to the medical side of it.
Okay.
So they may be able to help cover some of the medical needs that you might have at home, but not necessarily the non-medical.
Home care.
The home care.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're in a rehab situation, you might get some physical therapy or occupational therapy covered by Medicare, but not the meal preparation and cleaning, that kind of thing.
Right. And sometimes those are needed more than anything else.
Yeah.
You know. Tell me if I'm wrong, Kevin, but you've mentioned falls twice, and is it my understanding that throw rugs around the house are one of the main reasons for falling? Yeah,
throw rugs are a big tripping hazard, and clutter in the house can be another one that can cause falls. Tight spaces without handrails is probably the third thing that we look for. So in bathrooms, getting those handrails put in place are really helpful. And that's not really that hard. I know we did that for my brother installed those for my mother after she had had some significant surgery. And, you know, it was not that big of a deal. I say that, I didn't do it. But I think he just went to, like, I don't know, Home Depot or Lowe's or someplace like that, and you can buy the metal railings to put in the bathroom, you know, or in the shower or bathtub area. Extremely important. Yeah. Because a fall in a bathtub or in a shower could break your hip. Yes. Yeah. You know. Yeah. And of course, in Indiana, we have half the year we're worried about ice and snow and things like that. Yeah. As far as care that they're giving people at home, Kevin, you know, there may be the daily tasks like we talked about. And do you give them training on things like moving somebody from the bed into the wheelchair, things like that? Yeah. So mobility support is probably another area or category that we specialize in. And absolutely, we do a lot of training. So mobility care. Yeah, mobility support. Okay. And so, we don't want our caregivers to get hurt while they're helping somebody stand up or rotate or making sure they're not falling. And so we teach them how to do that safely. Okay. Yeah. All right. That makes sense. Heidi, with
clients that are coming to you, we talked about, legal documents. Does estate planning get involved in any way with this, or what should people be doing?
That's part of it, but my main message that I wanted to share tonight was that with these changes in the Medicaid waiver program, you may be on a waiting list for months. So if that's
months, that was plural, folks.
Yes, if you don't have funds to pay for home services on your own, and you want to use the Medicaid program, you have got to start early now. And you probably need the help of an attorney to help you do it. And that's the main thing that I just kind of wanted to get out right now, because that's such a change.
All right, so to use your terminology then, if you want to try to get Medicaid assistance with home services, get your slot. Am I using the word right? Okay, all right. And again, you could call Aging and In-Home Services to find out a little bit more of what the requirements might be. Kevin, what advice would you give to people that maybe don't need anything now, but you never know?
Yeah.
So what would you tell people in terms of preparation, if you will?
Right. I think the biggest thing that I would recommend for people to do is just to communicate with their family, with their friends, with lawyers, other people that are in their circle. And what I mean by communicate is, everyone has hopes and dreams. They have ideas of what aging looks like, and there's some fears there, but I think there's nothing to fear. And there's a sense of life can be full at any age. Life can be meaningful at any age, and start talking about what that means to each individual person and what their desires are.
And communicate this with, with your family. And, Kevin, as people start to age, and we all know this, it's okay to start hiring help.
Yeah.
Hire the kid in the neighborhood to mow your yard for you, or to climb up on that ladder to clean the gutters, or just, some things like that. Or maybe you want to start to hire somebody to help with some of your home repair that you used to be able to do yourself. Right. So it's a good idea to hire help.
This is one of my
physically
favorite client stories.
Okay.
Son and daughter, mom is a mess. They come in, we got to do something. Okay, let's just get our bearings, but let's stabilize the situation. So she already was having her house cleaned, and that person started coming in 3 days a week and helping with some meals. The neighbor person was mowing the lawn and taking out the trash.
Yeah.
Someone was helping with, laundry. They come back, mom is fine. Like that little bit of support allowed mom to stay in her home for 2 extra years.
Amazing.
So, it's nutrition and cleaning is such a big deal that you think people can take care of on their own, but that's harder than it seems when you're dealing with health issues.
Well, and maybe they can't even drive anymore. So the thought of going to the grocery. Well, and the good news is there are so many opportunities now. Again, through a company, you can get some home care help, and there are so many grocery deliveries, drugstore deliveries. So there's no reason for you to not get some help. Gloria called in, by the way, and Gloria says, "How does one qualify for Medicaid?"
So Medicaid is a program that it reviews what your income level is and what your asset level is. And at first blush, it looks like the asset levels have to be very low in order to qualify.
Yeah.
But when you are in a married couples situation, by hiring an elder law attorney and jumping through all the hoops they tell you to jump through, often you can get your spouse on Medicaid.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So
for married couples.
For married couples.
What does a single person do?
A single person with assets, there's also avenues to try to protect some of those assets if you kind of plan ahead. So if you're a person who has assets, it's worth a consultation with an elder law attorney just to see how it all might work.
And sometimes I think from what you all tell us, with the help maybe of an attorney or a financial planner, you can do asset protection.
Right.
Or a way to arrange your finances so you might be eligible
Right.
for Medicaid. Okay, we have 30 seconds, real quick.
Yeah.
What would you tell our folks at home,
Yeah.
Kevin?
Yeah. I would say, I guess, just don't stop dreaming and don't stop living life to the fullest. And
Good.
And you can get some help to help you do that, no matter what age you are.
I like that. I like that. And, you know, you can, like Heidi mentioned with that one lady, she was able to stay home several more years.
Right.
By just getting a little bit of help. Okay, thank you. You've helped our viewers and me as well with some information here and education, and that's our intent here at PBS and on our show Life Ahead, to help you get a lot of information to help you make choices for your life ahead. And I'll be back next Wednesday night at 7:30 with a new topic and new guests. Meanwhile, you all have a good night. Stay safe and stay healthy.
The preceding program on PBS Fort Wayne was made possible in part by
Beers Mallers, elder law attorneys providing information on legal matters of guardianship and financial issues relating to nursing home care. Beers Mallers attorneys can also assist with Medicaid requirements and help navigate difficult family situations. Offices in Fort Wayne, LaGrange, Warsaw, and online at beersmallers.com.